The line, "Hell is other people," spoken by Garcin in Jean-Paul Sartre's 1944 existential play No Exit, encapsulates the core of Sartre's philosophy about human relationships and self-perception. In the play, three characters, Garcin, Estelle, and Inez, find themselves trapped together in a mundane room, which serves as their version of hell. The lack of physical torture is deliberate. The real torment comes from the constant gaze and judgment of the others, creating a mental and emotional prison. Sartre's concept of the look or the gaze is central to understanding this dynamic. It refers to how our behavior changes when we know we are being observed, and how we become objects in the eyes of others. For Garcin, Estelle, and Inez, this gaze forces them to confront their guilt, hypocrisy, and self-deceptions. They constantly seek validation, struggling to maintain a false image of themselves. Garcin is obsessed with proving that he is not a coward. Estelle manipulates with her beauty and charm to hide her moral failings, and Inez uses cruelty to assert power. Their interactions become hellish because they reflect each other's flaws and prevent any escape from judgment. The idea that hell is other people does not mean that people themselves are inherently torturous. Rather, Sartre suggests that the hellishness comes from bad faith, the refusal to take responsibility for one's freedom and choices. Instead of confronting the truth about themselves, the characters hide behind roles and seek the approval of others, creating a never-ending cycle of judgment and deceit. In No Exit, Sartre illustrates that human relationships can often be distorted by the fear of judgment and the need for validation, trapping people in a self-imposed hell. However, he also suggests that there is a way out. By embracing authenticity and taking responsibility for one's actions, people can liberate themselves from the gaze of others and live more meaningful lives. As Inez says in the play, "You're your life and nothing else," indicating that self-acceptance and ownership of one's actions are key to escaping this existential hell. Sartre's famous line, "Hell is other people," represents a profound reflection on human existence, relationships, and how we define ourselves. In No Exit, the three characters are not physically tortured, but their eternal punishment comes from being locked together in a room where they become each other's judges and reflectors of their worst qualities. Garcin, Estelle, and Inez all committed morally questionable acts during their lives, and in death, they are forced to confront the reality of their choices in the presence of others who are also struggling with their own guilt and insecurities. The concept of the gaze, le regard in French, which Sartre discusses in his philosophical work Being and Nothingness, comes to life in the play. Sartre suggests that when we are seen by others, we lose some of our autonomy. Their judgment can shape how we see ourselves, reducing us to objects in their perception. This is what makes the characters' situation in No Exit so unbearable. They are forever trapped in a room where they cannot escape each other's judgment, constantly being seen through the eyes of others. The room becomes a symbol of existential entrapment, where self-perception is constantly filtered through the gaze of others. Each character represents a different form of bad faith, a term Sartre uses to describe the ways in which people deceive themselves to avoid the anguish of true freedom and responsibility. Garcin, for example, cannot bear to admit that he is a coward, even though he fled the war and betrayed his comrades. His constant need to prove to Inez and Estelle that he is not a coward reflects his inability to take responsibility for his actions. Estelle, on the other hand, uses her beauty and charm to manipulate those around her, hiding from the guilt of having drowned her own child. Inez, the most self-aware of the three, knows she is cruel but uses that knowledge to manipulate and control the others. The interactions between the characters show the destructiveness of bad faith. Garcin is trapped by his need to be validated by the others, particularly by Estelle, who uses her affection as a means of control. Estelle, in turn, seeks validation of her beauty and worth, unable to confront the depth of her guilt. Inez derives satisfaction from their suffering, knowing that she holds power over them, but even her sense of self is tied to the dynamics of the group. Sartre suggests that human relationships, when rooted in bad faith, become a form of hell because they are based on deception, manipulation, and a refusal to confront the truth. People become dependent on how others see them, allowing themselves to be defined by external judgments rather than their own actions and values. This leads to a loss of freedom, as they become prisoners of their own need for validation. Yet Sartre offers a way out of this existential trap. The key is authenticity, which requires individuals to accept their freedom and responsibility. Rather than hiding behind roles or seeking validation from others, one must embrace their actions and choices fully, without excuses. This is a radical shift from bad faith to authenticity, where one can live in accordance with their true self rather than in fear of how others perceive them. In the play, Inez comes closest to this realization when she says, "You're your life and nothing else." She accepts who she is and what she has done, without seeking redemption or validation from others. Garcin, on the other hand, remains trapped in his desire to escape judgment, unable to leave the room even when given the opportunity, because he cannot bear the thought that others might still see him as a coward. Ultimately, no exit serves as a powerful exploration of the human condition. It shows how the fear of judgment and the need for validation can trap people in a cycle of self-deception and misery. Sartre's message is that hell is not an external place but a state of being where individuals refuse to take responsibility for their own freedom, instead allowing others to define them. Yet there is hope. By embracing authenticity and accepting the consequences of one's actions, individuals can escape the hell of bad faith and live more meaningful, autonomous lives. In this sense, hell is other people can be understood as both a warning and a challenge. It warns against the dangers of living inauthentically and allowing others to dictate your sense of self. But it also challenges us to live authentically, to take responsibility for who we are, and to recognize that while others may judge us, it is ultimately up to us to define our own existence.